guys, it's Dylan Laine, and today I'm going to be answering one of your questions. Today's question is from Kimberly, and she asks, how do I overcome the fear of performing in front of others? I thought that I would talk a little bit about performing, my own experience with performing, and why I personally I'm mostly not afraid to perform most of the time. So I first started performing in elementary school for piano recitals. Throughout middle school and high school, I did choir, and so I performed with the choir. I probably did my first solo singing and playing an instrument performance my junior year of high school. So all the way up until 16, I think most of my performance experiences were very different than they were after 16. So before 16, it was like just me and the piano, and I was playing things that were known, and so for example, if I messed up, people would know because it wasn't my original stuff. Before I was 16, when I was mostly playing piano songs and classical pieces, I did feel pretty nervous, and I think that my nerves stemmed from the fact that people knew the songs I was playing and they would be able to know if I did mess up, and the thought of them knowing that I was messing up made me feel nervous because then I would look unprepared or like I didn't care. And also, I didn't really have much instruction or mentorship, I guess you could say, in regards to how to overcome fear with performing. So I was just kind of giving in to my feelings most of the time, and if I felt nervous, I was nervous. And sometimes I would get stomach aches, or I would get racing heart, and a lot of times right before I would perform, I would just feel like, why am I doing this? Why did I put myself in this position? I started to get a lot more comfortable naturally without any help or advice after 16, when I was mostly just playing or performing original music, either like at talent shows or open mics and things like that. I'm not saying that that's why I continued to just do original music. I naturally sort of lost interest, I think, in learning just classical piano, and I became much more interested in being creative with writing and performing originals, despite the fact that I was more comfortable playing originals. I never think that I or anyone else should stop doing something because it's uncomfortable. For example, I didn't stop performing classical piano music because I felt uncomfortable doing it. I stopped because I transitioned into writing and playing and performing original music because I loved it more and I was more passionate about it. And that could be one reason why I felt more comfortable doing it. We'll say from like age 16 to 20 was when I really hit this groove with loving playing, writing, and performing original music. I think when I first started performing my original stuff, like I said, I was a little bit naturally more comfortable because I enjoyed it more, I was more passionate about it, but I still felt nervous just thinking about what will people think when I perform. Will they like my stuff? Will they like my voice? Will they like my songs? Will I mess up? Etc, etc, etc. The more I did it though, the less I thought about those things and the less nervous I felt. I'll say from age 16 to 18, I played open mics, and I also played at restaurants, and sometimes I was paid and sometimes I wasn't. Sometimes it was tips only. But I feel like for those 2 years, maybe 16 to 18, I really just put myself out there, and the more I put myself in those uncomfortable performing situations, the more comfortable and less affected I felt by them, and it really grew my confidence. It grew my confidence in two ways. One way is because I just got more comfortable with it, you know, I just got used to it. The second way is because I did get feedback, and a lot of the feedback I got were people saying that, you know, they enjoyed my playing, they enjoyed my singing, they enjoyed my songs. I would get tips, and I think people were tipping me because they like it. Either that or they just felt bad for me. Having 2 years of really just putting myself out there for the sake of getting experience and overcoming some of the nerves and the anxiety definitely worked for me, and probably would work for most people. And then I think 18 to 20 were my first 2 years of college, and I went to a music college. A lot of my education and my degree and my experience centered around performing, not necessarily on a stage, but for my peers and for my classmates. And honestly, that's hard. I would almost say that's harder than performing for an audience of strangers, because these are people that you see every day. They're fellow musicians, so they understand what you're doing with your music. Performing for peers that are also really talented and gifted musicians, that was just a whole new level of discomfort. But again, I pushed through that because I had to for my degree. And the more that I pushed through it, it's like I almost started to thrive in those situations. I also kind of got this fight or flight mentality. I either have to be really confident and just go for this and make it happen, or I can be really nervous and scared and anxious and run away. Going into it with those two options, of course, I felt like, well, I'm paying money for this school. I moved to a different state. I'm here. I need to fight. I, again, just really pushed myself, challenged myself to do it, to play my original content, or sometimes it wasn't original. Most of the times it was original because my degree was songwriting. So I pushed myself to play those songs, and not only that, but to be open to criticism. Getting feedback was really helpful in being less anxious, just knowing what people think and not wondering, what are people going to think about my songs? I mean, the more that I performed for people and the more songs I played for people, a lot of the critique was repetitive because my writing style was repetitive, as yours would be too once you get your own style. After the 10th time of hearing there's too many words in your song, I started to really take that into consideration and write songs with a little bit less words and simplify my songs. And then whenever I would go to perform outside of the college environment, I would have less of a voice in my head saying, what will people think? I would have a general idea what people would think. Then another key component for my sort of overcoming fear in performing would be a professor that I had when I was 21, so my third year of college. I had a professor who's actually, if you are familiar with James Taylor, it's James Taylor's brother, who's Livingston Taylor. He was my professor for a course called, I think it was just called performance skills or something like that. He said something that I'll never forget and I always think about. He said, fake it till you make it. When he said it, he was referring to performing. He made this point that when you're on stage, people are watching you. They're looking to see what you're gonna do. They're studying maybe how you look a little bit, how you're dressed, if you look happy, if you look nervous. And when you perform, the same thing goes there as well. They're gonna notice if you look confident when you perform or if you look nervous when you perform. He made this point that whatever you emote, whatever feeling you express when you perform, you're going to cause your audience to feel that as well. So for example, if I'm nervous and I show that I'm nervous when I play by doing things like stuttering a lot or saying or like, or when I play, I acknowledge when I mess up. Oh, so sorry I messed up, or oh, so sorry I need to start over again. When I show that I'm nervous, my audience is gonna feel nervous too. They're gonna feel nervous for me, like, oh, is she okay? Or, oh, this must be her first time. It creates this dynamic of almost them feeling sorry for me, and I become less of a authority, less of a performer in their eyes. On the flip side, if I show up and I'm nervous, yet I give off a very strong sense of confidence, my audience, it's not that they're gonna feel confident, it's just that they're not gonna notice. They're not gonna notice anything about me in terms of nerves or stress or anxiety. Therefore, they're just gonna relax and listen to me perform, and they're gonna like my performance, unless I don't like my music or something. Just speaking from a performance side and the way that I carry myself, they're going to have a much more enjoyable and relaxed experience if I'm enjoying myself and I'm relaxed, even if I don't feel it on the inside. I guess that kind of raises this question of how do you show confidence when you're not feeling confident, or how do you show that you're not nervous if you're freaking out inside? That's definitely something that I had to learn and practice and get comfortable with. I would definitely say it's a skill of faking it till you make it. It's basically saying, get on stage and fake that you are completely confident, completely prepared, not nervous at all. At some point in that performance, or just at some point in your life, that will actually be the case internally as well. And in the meantime, your audience gets to experience a calm, collected performance, whether you feel it inside or not. To sum everything up, I overcame my fears of performing through experiencing uncomfortable performing situations. And by uncomfortable, I mean purely because of my own internal insecurities, not because of the external circumstances. Going to restaurants, going to open mics, paid or not paid, with friends or not with friends, being open to feedback, taking feedback into consideration. And then, like I said, the biggest thing of all, just hearing that phrase, fake it till you make it, applying it, expressing confidence despite what I'm really feeling inside. Today, I would say that I still get butterflies in my stomach right before I perform or the night before I perform, probably even when I'm walking out to perform. That's my feet walking. Honestly, the second I'm on stage and talking to the audience or playing, I go back into that fight or flight mode. I've got to do it. I've got to be confident. I've got to be enjoying it and excited, because why else would I be there? One other thing I forgot to mention is I had to let go of my pride. While yes, I do care about what people think about me when I perform, I want them to enjoy it, I don't let myself think about that when I'm performing. I'm not gonna be able to change anything in the moment. I've already prepared my songs, and that's something that I've put a lot of thought into ahead of time before I even went, considering my audience. I'm not gonna be able to change my appearance once I'm on stage. So I think it's important to consider my audience ahead of time and to be thoughtful about the decisions I make for my performance. But when I'm actually on stage, I feel like the only thing that I should think about is my songs I'm performing in that moment. My breathing, my expressions on my face, my tone of voice, the heart that I'm putting into the songs I'm singing, connecting with the audience, through eye contact, through smiling. At the end of the day, I can analyze how did things go, did they seem like they were enjoying it? What can I change for next time? But in the moment, in the performance is not the time for me to think about those things, because if so, then I think I'll just become worried or insecure. I hope that my sharing of my experience with you helps in some way, maybe challenges you a little bit to think about, do I need to work more on faking it till I make it? Do I need to work more on showing confidence even if I don't feel it? Do I need to get out there and start performing regardless of feeling uncomfortable? I want you to think about those things. Comment down below what the main thing that's holding you back from performing. Comment that, but also maybe comment an idea of how you can get past that, or a way that you're going to challenge yourself to grow in that area. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, you can comment those down below. I have a growing list that I'm going to be covering over the coming weeks, and yeah, let's keep that list growing. Bye!